want to spend a little bit of time talking about three key new technologies. These technologies are going to underpin, I think, a revolution in file-based workflow for our industry. File-based is the way of the future. Everyone knows that. Everybody also knows, if you get them in a quiet moment, that file-based workflow is hard. And it requires a lot of management, a lot of back-office effort to keep things moving. To generate benefits and economies from file-based workflow isn't as easy as you think. And you end up spending less on the kind of IT post-production technology and more on the kind of asset management technology to try and do impossible things. It just shifts the balance. And it never can do it. So what we're proposing to the industry here, and we've invited all the integrators and automators and asset management companies to come and see this presentation, are three key new technologies which we think can underpin a revolution in file-based workflow. They can make things so much easier for everybody. And easier is good. Convenience is good. So let me tell you a little bit about them. I'm not going to get into deep technology, I'm sorry. If you want deep technology, come and talk to us on the stand, come and talk to us after here, and we can go into as much of it as you want. But it's hard, it's kind of concepts. But let's talk about virtualization. Virtualization is about saying, you know, file-based workflows get a whole lot easier if the files don't exist. Wow, headache, instant. How can a file-based workflow be easier if the files don't exist? Steve, what are you talking about? Well, simple thing. You make an edit. You make it available as an NXF file, okay? And then you make it available as a flash file. And then you make it available as a QuickTime. Okay, so that's three new files. So you've made one edit, and you've generated 4 files on the drives. So that means suddenly you've got, from that one edit, you've got 4 files to manage. Then you make a change to this file. And you've got to suddenly remember to change all these other files. Very, very quickly, file-based workflow becomes a nightmare of complexity. Keeping track of where all the files are and whether they're up to date is really hard. So what we're trying to do with virtualization is remove that issue entirely. We're just saying, actually, we're never going to make a file until you want it. Now, the file looks like it's there, so the asset management system can know it's there and it can tell everybody it's there. It can advertise it to the world, but maybe it changes. Well, when you want it, it's available for you, and it's there, and it's up to date, and it's in the format you want. If Ray wants it in big, heavy HD format, then he can have it. If Roger wants it in little, light web format, he can have it. It's only stored on the disk once. It's not stored on the disk lots and lots of times. It's a very efficient workflow. Virtual files, the data does not exist until it's accessed. We've broken the link between the file address and the data in the file. Reduces latency. You can get at stuff straight away because you don't have to waste time making real files. It's just there. We handle the complexity. Saves storage. You can access the file in loads of different formats from a single asset on disk. Makes everybody's life much easier. Dramatically simplifies file management, we talked about. And we'll be showing on our stand, we are showing virtual QuickTime files and virtual flash files flowing across the web. And actually we've got virtual NXF as well, but it didn't fit on the slide. Virtual NXF underpins the EBS development. Open identity. This one's, again, a bit hard. What we're saying is that we know what makes up all the clips in our system. We know down to frame level what makes up all the clips in our system. And what we're doing is we're saying to the world, you can know that too. Why is that useful? Well, you can look inside clips and see their ingredients. Now, metadata everyone talks about. One key kind of metadata is rights. So you've got rights to some clips, you've not got rights to other clips. What happens if you use them in an edit and flatten? You don't know where you can use that flat file. It's hard work to keep track of where the rights are. Well, now what we're saying is, just look inside, ask us, and we'll tell you what the ingredients of every clip in the system is. You can track rights and metadata all the way through your system. Everybody has access to this. It's open information, asset management companies, integration companies. Just ask us, and we'll tell you what's in the clip. And you can use this to build some really interesting workflows. I'll show you in a minute how this all works for Final Cut Pro. Dramatically simplifies asset management. It's really hard if you try and do this afterwards. You try and work out what happened when something went into an editor and what clips have been used. It's really easy if you can just ask and find out. So open identity is very, very important. And we're showing identity flowing via Final Cut Pro. The third part about it is a technology called web services. This is quite interesting. I was at a German broadcaster, a good customer of ours, And we were chatting about the future, and they said in a sort of jokey comment, you know, the only video that's not available on the web is the stuff inside our SQ server. You know, they're talking about YouTube and how everybody's videos get pirated and put on there. It's all available. Well, actually, with web services, the video that's inside, the assets that are inside an SQ server are available on the web. But more importantly, you can put a workflow together that uses the web. So this is the ultimate, you know, ultimate convergence we've been talking about for quite a while. We're talking about cross-platform. Web services technology does not limit you to Windows or Macs or, you know, mobile, any particular flavor of mobile. It's an open technology that's completely available across, you know, we're showing, you know, Mac browsers, we're showing Windows browsers, we've got an Android mobile phone, all accessing media on the SQ server using web services technology. It's that open. It's that flexible. Rich internet applications, good phrase, RIAs, rich internet applications, browser applications, different way of writing code, more lightweight applications, easier to use, easier to roll out, easier to maintain, all parts of this web services technology. So we're showing a browser application. So, you know, you just type in, you go to your bookmark, SQ server, whoomph, suddenly you're working with clips, you're looking at them in Flash, you're accessing metadata, you're editing metadata. This is just the start of it. We can go so many other places with this technology. And that interface is open, so those applications can be written by anybody. You can download, you know, free trials of FlexBuilder, and you can write this stuff. It's not that difficult compared to, you know, the heavy work of trying to work out what's actually happening to the asset, where it is, making it in Flash. It's really easy. So this is a key enabling technology. And, you know, we're showing it now because what we want to get from our partners and from our customers is where we push it into product first. And I guarantee you in the next 3 months you'll see some product coming out of this stuff. It's that significant. Now let me show you how the technologies work and how we're using them to underpin the Final Cut Pro integration. So, big Quantel server on the left-hand side, Final Cut Pro representation on the right-hand side. Okay, and we've got some Quantel open workflow technologies I'm going to use. So, we want to enable a workflow. What's the first thing you need to do if you want to work with media on Final Cut Pro? Well, you need to find it, right? Oh yeah, good point. You need to find media. So how do you find media? Well, in the olden days, you just used to look down a list of clips in a directory. But if you've got 100,000 clips, that's not a good way of finding media. So what we have is a Google-like search application to let you search the SQ server. And that's written using web services as a rich internet and browser application. So you type in the stuff you're interested in, and it finds it for you. And magically, that media is now available. You just drag it into the Final Cut Pro bin. It's there. Okay, so we found our media. We need to access the media. And we do that using virtualization. Final Cut Pro insists on having QuickTime files. Yeah? It won't look at anything else. It insists on a QuickTime file. But we don't want to waste time making QuickTime files. I know you can do external reference QuickTime files, but we just pretend that the QuickTime files are there, and Final Cut Pro can access the essence in a QuickTime file instantly. There's no waiting. The file is just there when it needs it. Okay, but it's better than that. We found that file, and we've accessed it in Final Cut Pro. But actually, that file wasn't a flat file. It wasn't a rush. It was an edit that someone had made somewhere else in the system, maybe on a Quantel low-res editor. We can actually open the Quantel edits. So we're using this open identity idea to allow Final Cut Pro to look at the contents of the Quantel clips as edits and keep everything live. That's the key, keep it live. If you flatten, it's really hard to get that back and keep track of information. Everything is live. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do some work in Final Cut Pro, maybe import a little graphic or something from Motion. And now what we need to do is get that edit back onto the Final Cut Pro, onto the SQ server. So we're going to use open identity again to look at the clips that exist in Final Cut Pro and ask if they're on the Quantel server. If they're on the Quantel server, we don't need to send them back. If they're not on the Quantel server, we just publish the new frames using this open identity idea. So I hope you can see how these three technologies, web services, virtualization, open identity, are contributing to a great workflow with Final Cut Pro, and how they can contribute to great workflows with all sorts of products and technologies in the future. So we're really excited about this, so I hope you can tell. Virtualization, open identity, web services.